Boris Johnson might be like, look, you need just to swim around the country to combat the coronavirus. I'll be like, oh good, because I've been training. It's just got to hurt for you to adapt.
That's like a machine!
Babes! I'm gonna squat you.
Are you actually? Now I'm gonna go and shift some weight. I hunted for a month, like elephant feces basically floating around. So I'm head chef.
And you're head chef?
It started out so healthy. What's up guys, Russ Edgley here. We're living in some strange times at the moment with the coronavirus. Here in the UK we're in lockdown. And a lot of people have been asking how I'm actually training at the moment. And for me, I had my entire year planned out, both as a coach and also as an athlete training for certain athletic adventures. And that's all kind of been flipped on its head now. I'm trying to see how best to spend my time during isolation and lockdown, so when we are coming out the other end of it, I can be a better athlete and better prepared. Because we're in isolation, I can't actually swim, so it's kind of unfortunate that I can't really do these high volume sessions where I'm swimming for 10K. So instead, one thing that I'm looking to focus on is really drilling down on those things that were perhaps neglected when we were out of isolation. So one thing that I'm gonna do now in lockdown is extend this base of getting wintered, but really focus on my anaerobic threshold. All that means is high intensity interval training on an assault bike. It's not pleasant. Sometimes doing 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 30 minutes. I'm now gonna go get ready for session 1 of the day. That is strength training. You're joining me, aren't you?
Yeah, I am actually today.
This is a pretty good gym, isn't it? 24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, and I have my own personal trainer. Ross never really likes to train with me because he always lifts way heavier than me and he doesn't like to unrack everything.
No, because, so for those watching, for boyfriends and girlfriends who train together, first time Hester ever trained with me, she felt sick.
Wait, where's this going?
She felt sick, was almost sick, and then went to sleep for 4 hours.
I had to take a nap.
Right now what I'm working on is shoulder mobility and shoulder strength and looking at internal and external rotation. Reason being, when isolation was announced and lockdown, I just thought it actually represented a great opportunity to drill down into things that I've probably neglected or been too busy to do with traveling and coaching so much at the moment. Also as well, even looking at brachiating. So for those who don't know, there's a theory that we share the same shoulder joint as the great apes, but as the great apes are brachiating, so they're basically holding onto a bar in this idea of a passive hang, so they're holding onto a bar. So you'll notice that my ears are up by my shoulders. So my scapula isn't in contraction, I'm just kind of hanging like this. And like I said, this is the whole idea, is we're putting the shoulder joint, decompressing the spine, and putting the shoulder joint to use like Mother Nature intended. So although it looks a little bit weird, that's what I'm doing at the moment, while getting out the way while you do squats. Is that what you're doing today?
I am. I'm gonna squat you.
Are you actually?
Yes.
I think you might live to regret that. I've put on a lot of weight. I'm getting those gains. Getting those gains.
Get those gains.
Isolation isn't ideal, obviously. I'd much prefer to be swimming, but with that said, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and I'm using this time just to drill some hench rotator cuffs, so when I come out I've just got bulletproof shoulders. So if I do end up doing another stupid swim around countries or wherever, then maybe, I'm not saying I'm going to.
Nobody is swimming around any countries.
I'm not saying I'm going
in this
to.
house.
I'm not saying.
Are they?
Boris Johnson might be like, look, you need just to swim around the country to combat the coronavirus. And I'll be like, oh good, because I've been training. This is a big moment in the home gym. This is a huge PB coming from Hester Sardbury, aka Big H, Persian Powerhouse. Let's go.
Let's concentrate.
We've added, basically what's happened here, we've added a few coaching cues, added a few bands, posterior chain targeting that. Gonna get the glutes activating before we go into squats. That is amazing. That is a PB. Big. I'm now gonna go and shift some weight. Limited by the amount of weight that we actually have, even though it is a pretty cool home gym setup. But what we're gonna be doing is throwing up the 45s, incline bench press, using a slingshot as well, because we're looking at rate of force development, so it's not necessarily just the weight, it's the speed at which you're moving it. And then we're going into bear crawls. Reason being, this is almost, like I said, active recovery, also general physical preparedness. Busting out 5 sets of 5, and just not fatiguing. I think that's the other thing as well. We've got an anaerobic
session on the bike, high intensity intervals, which will leave me on the floor in a sweaty mess. So it's important with strength training, especially at the moment. Like I said, it's still kind of active recovery. We're not fatigued. I'm trying to replicate similar movement patterns in the squat rack that I'd be using when I'm swimming. Sounds complicated, it's not. It just means basically on my pull-ups, you know, my grip is there rather than wide. I'm trying to replicate the start of the pull phase of my front crawl stroke, exactly the same here. You know, that pull propulsion phase of the stroke. I'm trying to replicate that tricep extension to do the same, which is why I'm using my wrist wraps, so I can actually keep open palms and try to replicate something that looks like a swim stroke. This is actually something that I'm enjoying about isolation. The kitchen is so close to the gym, so it means that I can go from lifting my last weight to the kitchen. I think my record's 20 seconds. From the dumbbell hitting the floor to a protein bar actually being in my face. But I keep this quite simple at the moment, so taking a lot of glutamine to support the immune system. Also as well BCAAs, specifically leucine. So it's leucine, out of all branched chain amino acids, it's basically leucine that you need to trigger the motor receptors within the muscles to repair and regrowth basically. Also as well creatine. Creatine's a weird one just because there's no nutrient window. There's no necessarily best time to take it, but with that said, it makes sense to take it post-workout just because muscle glycogen completely depleted, your muscles are in a very absorbent state. What I like to do, and sometimes I don't even really measure it, I'm eating so relaxed and intuitive at the moment. I don't even know how much yogurt I put in there. So sometimes I will go through, how many of those do we go through?
You go through 6 of those a week.
Do I actually?
You actually go through 6 of those a week.
I don't know if I
Sometimes
do.
8.
The strange thing about yogurt is, this is a weird story. When I lived as a Sam Bushman in Namibia, I hunted for a month, and the only thing that we had was a porcupine, and we drank from an elephant waterhole. So you had to eat porcupine, it's kind of like furry leather, and then drink like elephant feces basically floating around in the pond. I know it's not a nice story, I can see from your face. But my point is, I'm going somewhere with it. And then afterwards, when I arrived back to sort of civilization out of the bush, yogurt was something that was nice because it meant that it quenched my hunger and thirst. So that's why I like yogurt. There you go. That super green shake with BCAAs, glutamine, and creatine. In the garden, if you know me. Pleasant. That was not pleasant at all. So I've recovered now. I've managed to get up off the floor. But I think one thing that's always interesting about anaerobic training or interval training is so often the body doesn't understand sets, reps, time. What it does understand is just stress and stimuli. And that is the key to adaptation. I think so often we start thinking about reps, sets, and we just get confused. Whereas ultimately, it's just got to hurt for you to adapt. Okay, we are now at the business end of the day. By business end, I'm in the kitchen. We are having a barbecue bro down.
Bro down? It's not a bro down, babe. It's having a romantic evening.
We're having barbecue bro down. Within this house, I'm very aware that I am not a good cook. If like the rubbish needs taken out, or if there's heavy lifting to do, that is what I do. And if there's cooking to do, that is what you do. But I'm also your sous chef, aren't I?
Sous chef means you help. You just eat. You just eat the food.
What do you need me to do right now?
Okay, I need you to...
So I'm hitting that 1.7 grams of protein per kg of body weight per day. But then other than that, it's kind of like, I don't really need copious amounts of your 2 energy yielding macronutrients of fats and carbs, because I'm just not swimming 10K a day at the moment. So whilst I'm taking care of all of my protein requirements and then also as well micronutrients as well, certainly taking care of my immune system, so that's why I'm always at the moment making shakes, super greens, glutamine as well. I think the main thing is just trying to get as many just quality whole foods in as possible, which is why that people ask what a typical meal for me, that is kind of a typical meal. Super greens, protein, and then just lots of vegetables. I'm not limiting my carbs or fats, but I just don't need as many because I'm not swimming 10K.
No day is now complete until we've had brownie. So what has happened, we've had baths and showers.
I'm gonna be your sous chef.
You're my, so I'm head chef.
And you're head chef.
Yes! So what do I do?
Right, I'm in charge.
Okay, can you remember
Yes.
how we did it?
400 millilitres of water. You can use milk, but we're running out of milk.
3 scoops whey protein, 3 tablespoons,
Which aren't as generous. Maybe that can be that'll be enough.
2 tablespoons.
But it's meant to be 3 tablespoons,
3.
but not as generous.
Some of this stevia.
So he means 3 tablespoons of stevia,
That much.
and then he needs 60 grams of cocoa powder.
I know how you've just taken over.
No, I'm not taking over. You're doing it.
Mate, because you said I whisk it too much.
Yeah. To be fair. Done.
That's like a machine! That's like a machine!
We're done, babes. Babes.
Then you put it in the oven
Yeah.
For 15 minutes
Yeah.
at 180 degrees.
That's it.
This is what I have to live with. Because Hester, holding the camera, makes cakes for a living. That is what she does. She comes home with chocolate frogs. 15 minutes. Done. The brownie's been in there for 15 minutes. And somehow it's acquired some cream eggs on the top. When it started out so healthy.
Doesn't it look so pretty though?
How many eggs did you put on there?
Put 3. That's a mini egg.
Do you want to show everybody the creation?
It's just a mess
my
of
God.
chocolate.
Amazing.
This has been a lot of fun to film. So if you've enjoyed watching it, let us know. I want to thank my director, she's a camera person.
Aww.
And if you've liked it, subscribe to the channel, leave comments, let us know what you want us to cover in isolation. I'm gonna get stuck into this bowl of, I don't even know what it is.